Hi, it's Gadget UK here again. This time a quick build of a TerribleFire TF536. So another exciting project here from Stephen Leary. So this provides an 030 processor, just like the TF534. You have the pin headers here that go on the underside of that, and those will fit into 68K socket, so you could plug it directly into an A500. You'd probably want a CPU slot relocator. I'll show you a relocator in a minute. Or you could put it in one of the ones that puts it sideways into a CPU slot on an A2000. There's probably other Amigas you could fit it into as well, like I think I've seen on the forums there a few people getting these working in things like the CD TV, for example. But again, clearance might be an issue. You might need to raise up by a number of sockets height underneath, and you may need to use a relocator to put it somewhere else in the case. So just like the 534, this has got IDE. It's only got one CPLD this time, and 64 meg of RAM instead of the 4 that you get on the TF534. And this is obviously lacking the FPU slot. So we've got a bit of a trade-off there. It's a bit of a similar, if not smaller, size board to the 534, and we've traded in the FPU slot there for an additional 60 mega RAM, so we've got 64 mega RAM, so that's a really nice amount of RAM to have.
This table just shows the difference between the 520, the 530, the 534 and the 536.
I'm just going to fly through the build of this. I'm not really going to focus on anything too much. I'll just perhaps show you some fast forwarded clips of me installing some of the SMD things here and one or two of the little bits and pieces, but yeah, I'm hoping to fast forward through the whole lot of that within about 4 or 5 minutes. And then we'll start testing it on a few different systems here. If you want to see more about how to solder everything onto something like this and how to program it and everything, check the link below and that little thing up there to when I built a TF330. So, a quick progress update. It's probably about 2 hours later this. That took an incredible amount of effort. It's really dirty still, but I don't know whether the pitch is finer than when I did the TF330. I just really struggled with it. I just kept getting bridges, and every time I'd remove a bit with the desolder braid, there'd be too little solder. I'd add a tiny bit more solder, and suddenly 5 pins would bridge together. So then I'd be removing it with the desolder braid again and going round in circles. So whether we have good connections or that, I don't know, it remains to be seen. So I'm doing things in random orders here just to take away from the monotony of doing this actually. So you can see I've got it into a CPU relocate here, and I did that, I just soldered 1 pin on each side, tried to get them straight as possible, got it into there, and then reheated those individual pins so that it would adjust, it would move slightly to make sure that it is as straight as possible with that there. There's a bit of the black plastic come off that end one there, but when you cut them down that always happens. But what I can do now is just solder the remaining corner. I've done all 4 corners on this here now, and do perhaps in the middle. But I could just solder it this way on here now actually, thinking about it. Could just go along here and just add some solder to each point. So one of the consequences of installing all this through-hole stuff, as you can see the board sort of, tilts over. This is why, you should, and I think Stephen Leary recommended this to me actually last time when I did that 330 build. He was like, well, do the through-hole stuff later, it just makes it easier. But we can just stick something under there just to level it off a little bit. It just makes it a bit easier, and just need to get that into position and solder a couple of points on it. So I've added some flux there, just get a little bit of solder, and let's just have a bit of a bob into these. The pins are so fine here, I'm finding it very difficult drag soldering actually. I mean, I can swap to the other iron, get lots of bridges as well. I found it so much easier when I was doing that TF330, I don't know why. So you've got loads of pins bridged there. Anyway, I need to do this under magnification really. So one more RAM chip to go, and 2 level translators here. There are 3 positions here that you don't populate. Can you see on the underside here, you've got these resistor arrays. It's an optional thing. You can remove some or all of those resistor arrays, and then fit some chips here to buffer the IDE. I just thought to show you this. This is funny. Vacuum pen must be used when removing this device. Now, do they mean removing it from here, or do they mean removing it from a board? I'm assuming here. I don't like how you've got to open this either. I'm going to slice it there, I think. Yeah, so I think they're saying a vacuum device because the pins, you could probably damage it maybe. I don't know. I mean, they are very thin, but you can just remove it with your fingers. You don't need a vacuum device at all. Oh, there we go. So the next thing I want to do here on both of the boards I have assembled here, I want to fit some buffer chips here. Now there's position for 3. I think you just need these for the data bus connections, I think. I'm not really sure what that 3rd position there is for. And what you need to do is remove, can you see we've got 4 lots of resistor arrays there. So if I just carefully try and separate these 2, you've got to be careful because you can bend all the pins. But if I try and gradually separate these, yeah, so we just need to captain tape off this here, get a bit of hot air and remove those there. And as I say, the 245s, they're going to buffer the IDE connectivity here. So there are 2 advantages in that. One of them, it protects the CPLD here, so if you got the cable on the wrong way or you had a short or something else, it wouldn't just insta-kill the CPLD connections. But the other benefit is when you've got buffer chips here, you can have longer distance on the cable. At the moment, I've got a cable I'll show you in a minute. It's a slightly longer one and it's got 2 connectors on it. The idea being that I'm going to feed off and connect up to a CD-ROM drive. So I can have my compact flash card and a CD-ROM drive on the chain there. One will have to be set to master and one to slave. That should work, I think. Without these buffer chips here, the length of the cable just stops it from booting. I just tried just a compact flash card. The cable's about, I don't know, that far away and it wouldn't boot. As soon as you move it to the connection up here, it works. So yeah, that should solve the distance issue there and protect the CPLD. So we might need to do the same with the 2 here in a minute and fit the chip on the other side because it does go to the connector here. I'm guessing that's going to be some of the control signals. Anyway, let's just heat this, try and get these off. I did notice that the silk screen on the other side is not showing where pin 1 is on these the little chips we need to fit. So that is going to cause me, an interesting problem. I can do a connectivity test in a minute just to determine where the ground is. Hang on. It's not easy to do this. I just want to try and slide it off once it gets up to temperature. There we go. Surprised how resilient those are. Makes me wonder if they're glued down when they're assembled, these. Because they call it the chicken feed, all these small components on the underside here, that's just flown off over there, look, are pre-assembled by the PCB manufacturing place. Anyway, let's just get these 2 off. And final one, you can't really see it there. Sorry, it's moving around so much here. There we go, it's off, look. So let's just tap those off the board there. There we go. I'll save those just in case I do need to put them back on. We'll get a little bit of a braid onto there and just clean that up as well. I do hope this works after this, because this is always the thing, isn't it? I've been using this an awful lot on the 2000 and my 500 boards, no issues, no problems at all. And then I come to do something like this and you never know, this might be at the point where it stops working or something. Do something wrong, we get a short somewhere, or I don't know. Anyway, you get the idea. Yeah, that's not too bad. So I need to do the same thing here, get a piece of captain tape over this I think, otherwise you just stand the chance of melting it a little bit. But, as I say, we don't know which side pin 1 is there, do we? So I've just put the meter on continuity test, because there's no marking on the silk screen there. And we need to find a known ground, don't we? Well, we've got known grounds here. That's the ground. So if we go from there, yeah, that's the ground, isn't it? Yeah, so pin 1 is down this side here on each of these chips. So I've got my Captain tape as low down as possible on the board there. Just need to see where pin 1 is. I think you can see the marking there. And again, because of the assembled nature of this, it's going to be a bit fiddly. Let's try and get that there just to level the board somewhat. And I need to get it in position and inspect with magnification and tack a couple of corners. I'm not going to be able to show you this while I do it. I'm going to have to try and do this off camera. Well, that was seriously painful. I really wish I had done those right at the very start, before, you know, we finished assembling the board and put the IDE connector on and stuff. Anyway, I'll clean around here with a toothbrush in a sec, and then we just need to inspect, make sure we don't get any shorts, and then give it a try. Yeah, I got that one to do yet, haven't I? Assuming it won't just work like this, but this is for the data bus, so if it was the data bus that was affected, you know, if that's the issue there with the distance on the cable, we might just be okay. Those control signals might not be so much of an importance, but they are in terms of, you know, protecting the CPLD there, if that's what you want those chips to do. Well, would you believe it? I've not even had a chance to test it, and I broke a pin off. I don't even know how. I just don't know how. I don't know how that happened. It must have been caught on the paper towel or something, but I just noticed it was hanging over at a weird angle. I just touched it and it just fell off. So yeah, I broke a pin off. So I'll do what I've shown before. I'll desolder these 3 pins here, and then I'll snip it and I'll replace those 3 pins. So I need to heat up the desolder station now and remove those 2 pins that are still there. Right, let's try and get that first one. Next one. Third one. And I want to carefully snip those 3. Yeah, gotta hope we don't damage the traces doing this. Give it a little wobble to free those 3 pins up and try and get it off. Yeah, there we go. Did I lift the pad there? Yeah, I think we might just lifted the pad there actually. I might need to fix that. Yeah, I might need to join a wire across here now. Oh. So what I did here is feed a very fine piece of coil wire. You probably can't even see that. Look how thin that is. It's super thin. I fed it through the hole here, put the 3 pins in, stuck this into the socket, made sure that it was totally aligned down there like that, and then wrapped that little bit of coil wire and soldered it onto the pin there. So our 3 pins are soldered on, but what we do need to do now is carefully prise this apart again without damaging it. This is what I hate. It's so difficult trying to separate these without slipping. Sometimes you can just literally use pliers here to help just prise open a little bit at various points, but again, you've got to go very carefully and cautiously. Oh, is it out? Yeah, there we go. So hopefully, yeah, all our pins are nice and straight. So you can see that bit of wire here. Well, you might not be able to, it's so fine, can you see here? And I scratched some of the trace off there. So what I'm going to do now is pull it in line with it and solder here. Because it's through the hole and wrapped around the pin on the other side, it shouldn't just fall off. But yeah, if I just trim that to the point where it ends, you probably never even know that was on there actually. So the good news is, after all that chaos, you can see it flashing away there. It's on the longer cable, and it has worked fine. Fantastic. So I'm going to benchmark it to see if there's any different. It shouldn't be with buffered IDE. And then I'll also use my other connector here, my other adapter, into this socket, the one they usually use on the A4000, and see if it works right at the end of this cable here. And there we go, on that super long cable. This one needs power as well, as you can see. The IDE is working. Now previously that was not happening. So the buffering, I think, has solved it. So it would seem you only need those 2 chips there to buffer, certainly the data signal, and it seems to be booting. Yeah, there you go, it's booted up again, so no worries, that has sorted my issue. You can see where I fixed it here. There's just a little wire on the trace, So that works fine. It's just annoying, you know, that somehow I broke that pin off. I vaguely remember when I built this first one of them had a bent pin in transit. It was like right out, and I straightened it back up, but there was like a little nick in the middle where it had been bent, and I thought that's going to break off at some point, and I think that's why it broke off. I just got caught on the paper towel when I was cleaning, and it just came straight off. So yeah, anyway, you've seen me do that before, where, you know, cut 2 or 3 or 4 or more out and just replace those ones. It's a bit easier than replacing the whole strip. And then, as you saw, I plugged it into the adapter to get them totally straight and stuff, and it's just a nice, easy way to fix something like that. But yeah, the trace was okay here. It was just the pad. I got a little bit too eager pulling these 3 pins off when I removed them, and the pad on this side just lifted. The pad's still there. I suspect it just detached from this trace because it's so fine. So I'm just going to do the same with the second board here now. Remove the resistor arrays. You can see I've got some Captain tape around there. Shouldn't need much heat, these, I don't think. Let's just do these 2 here. Just a little bit of flux and some desolder braid. It takes quite a while to melt these, actually, and it's surprising for the size of the pads. You know, they absorb quite a bit of heat. This board, I'm not sure that I've mentioned, is going to a chap in Denmark, actually. He helped pay for my wife's car repair, which was a significant bill, actually, a few months ago. I didn't ask, and he just came out of the blue and just gave me the money, which was just absolutely unbelievable. Absolutely unbelievable. So originally I'd planned to use this in an A500, but under the circumstances I thought I'd better send him this, actually. So I asked him if he wanted it, and he said yeah, he would love it. So yeah, it just takes one weight off my mind. I'm one of these people, when people help me out and stuff, I like to try and return the favour in one way or another, and obviously there's lots of people who've helped me on my channel. So I apologise for not being able to send you one of these if you're one of those people, but at some point I'll find some way to repay the favour if you've helped me out. Yeah, as you can see, that's looking good as new now, so we can remove the Captain tape from those bits, and we just need to fit the chips on this side here. So I think that's it. I swapped to my old Antex just for the second half of that, actually, the inner edge here, and I just found it so much easier. So what I'm going to do, and it's not the Antex that's better, it's just the tip. I'm going to go and order a tip that's exactly the same as what I used there, because that really fine tip conical point is not really the right tip for drag soldering. And I can see a difference between the one I did with the Heiko there and the one I did with the correct tip there. Actually, it just looks a lot better. And there's a super macro for you, so you can see that's one of the ones I did with the correct tip, and it looks really tidy. That one I did with the correct tip, and that one doesn't look too bad. And this one here, this inside edge, was done with the Heiko with the wrong tip. I mean, to be fair, there's a very little difference there. They're about as straight as they can get as well. I'm just not sure if that one on the left is as straight as the one on the right, but the pads are all correctly aligned and stuff. So anyway, we'll connect up the compact flash card ribbon here, you know, the cable and the adapter, and go and try it. All connected up there. You can just about see it finishing booting, and that has indeed worked, so that's great news. The socket here I'm going to replace with a turn pin socket anyway, because it's had turn pin pins pushed into it, which has widened it. It's one of a few boards where I want to swap the 68,000 socket, but you can see I'm just testing it with an A500 relocator here, because that's what it's going to be plugged into, 500 plus I think, and as you can see that is working. And just like when I restored this 2000, I am naked in here at the moment. It's so hot. I tell you, I am melting. It is so hot. Strange how the 2000 always comes out in this incredibly hot weather. So if you've seen the previous video I did on the 2 meg RAM upgrade from Live 2, not the one that was originally fitted in here, but the one that I built from a design that Live 2 put on GitHub. Yeah, I've got that memory board in here at the moment, but it's still got the 534, so I'm going to carefully pull out the 534, So you can see it there in all its glory. It's got a full 50 megahertz 030, that one, and an FPU that runs at 50 as well. Really nice. This was a donation originally from 8-Bit Dreams. Fantastic. Really enjoyed using this. It's been really good in this 2000. So I'm going to remove the CPU slot adapter here, and we'll fit the 536 while we're in here and swap the compact flash card over. So from the earlier part of the video, you'd be amazed. You might think I'm doing this all in one long shot, but I'm not. This has been sat around for blooming ages, like 12 months ages. I've been meaning to try and finish this 536 video off. So you can see I had it in a bag here. Still looks absolutely pristine. It's dust free, heat sinked these things here, and it's got a CPU slot adapter anyway, so I didn't need to pull this off, did I? Yeah, I'm going to leave this one because I wired it up here. I fed the boss signal to ground. That's something that Liv2 pointed out that should be done on these. So yeah, I'll put the one here from, I think it's with a Vampire actually. This is their Vampire V500 adapter. So we'll move that out of the way, and we'll just go with this nice red one here, which I'm not sure who created that. Again, it's open source. It's on GitHub. Suko Para, I think. So just for reference, pin 1 is down here, isn't it? So let's just try it and carefully leave with that. Not pressing hard on the board here, it's just to get it off without bending the pins. There we go, because you can bend them really easy. There's no indication here on this 534 where pin 1 is. I'm going to stick a red dot up there in a minute, I think. And it seems on here that pin 1 is up here, doesn't it? So again, we'll just carefully try and lever that off. The temptation is just to pull these, but I mean, as long as you don't put too much pressure when you leave them, because you don't want to damage the traces and things that are near there, and then you can just pull it when it gets to the final bit. But you see, that's not off far enough, is it? There we go. So pin 1 is up here. This does have pin 1 marking, which is cool. And let's give it a try. So actually, the compact flash card, oh, it's on a different side, isn't it? That's interesting. The IDE is on the other side of the other one, so you know what? A longer cable is better. I'm going to swap back to the longer cable again. So let's get that into the CPU slot. There we go. It's a much firmer fit, because obviously that other one I've had in and out. Yeah, that's better, because I want the compact flash card to sort of sit here in this little area. So I'll try it without the compact flash card to start with. I'll put syscheck in there in the floppy drive. I just want to make sure it's booting okay. Yeah, that was a good sign. Those rainbow bands there, that's the bootloader. I'm going to say the bootloader, it's not really doing anything I think other than switching off the FPU, but you know what, it's a really nice visual indication that it's working. It's waiting quite a while, I think maybe, oh yeah, it was looking for the IDE, that's the thing. If you've not got IDE connected, it will take longer to boot. So memory, there we go, 72 meg, oh my god. Of course we have lost the FPU, but I don't think I'm going to be using it, to be fair. I'd rather have 50 megahertz and 64 meg of Zorro 3, actually. And the reason we've got 72, obviously, it's got 8 meg of Zorro 2, this machine. I'm just going to leave that in there. It's nice to have a little bit of extra RAM. Zorro 3 RAM should get higher priority. So, you know, the system will run super fast using that RAM until you've filled the whole 64 meg of it, and then it needs to go into the slower RAM. And at that point, if you were to launch another app, you know, if you used, say, I don't know, a 64 meg RAM disk, filled it up, then you loaded a program, that program will probably end up in the Zorro 2 RAM, which means you're not running at 50 megahertz. Things are running quite slow. And that's the whole thing, you know, the more Zorro 3 RAM you get with something like this, the better, really. 4 meg was just a little bit on the restrictive side for the 534, but it was still a very, very nice card. This, you know, I loved it. I've used it for so long, that 534. Never had any problems with it. Super compatible, super reliable. Sort of sad to see, you know, it go and swap to the 536, but you know what, the 536 just has so much more RAM. So I switch it off, and I think because I've been using this before in the 500, it should all be connected up the right way. We just need to just literally plug my old compact flash card in, wedge it somewhere out of the way where it's not going to do any harm, and switch it back on. All being well, it should boot from IDE. Take the floppy drive out, by the way, the floppy disk. Yeah, it's booting already, look. You can hear the floppy drive doing its usual tick. Fantastic. So, yeah, it's a mission complete. We've now got 64 meg of fast RAM in my A2000. Love it. You've seen the benchmarks and things before. I can't imagine this is any faster than the 534. It's going to be identical, I would think. So 9346, that's pretty good. It's like half as fast as an 040 at 25, and it's double, as you'd expect, more than double actually, 2.1, slightly faster than, twice as fast as an A3000 running at 25. So yeah, very, very pleased. We'll do a drive speed test while we're here as well. I don't think MMU libs are set up on this card actually, so I could do that, and that will make a huge difference to speed. I think you get about 3.5 meg with MMU libs on this. So I may do that next. Yeah, you can see only 1.2 meg there. I suspect it's because MMU lib's not there, so perhaps report back in a minute when I've stuck MMU lib on. So the full install of MMU libs totally messed everything up. I got stuck in a boot loop. I've switched it off and on. Just watch how fast it boots now. I restored the compact flash card. I'll tell you when it's flashing. Right, it's flashing now. Yeah, I restored the compact flash card, and then I copied across the individual MMU lib file, edited the startup script, and put CPU fast ROM cache just after set patch. And it's way quicker, it's noticeable. Just there, it's so much quicker. That is incredible. So if we're going to sysinfo, look at that, it's the lightning fast now. That's incredible how fast that is. And if we look at drives, we may even see a benchmark, the main benchmark difference as well. But on drives, let's do this. It was like less than a meg, wasn't it? Around a meg. Look at that, 2.7 meg, 3 meg. I have had 3.5 meg with different compact flash cards, but yeah, 3 meg there. So it's 3 times faster. That is absolutely incredible. Let's try one of the other drives. You'd expect them to be the same because they're the same physical media, About 2.5, it's dropped a little bit, hasn't it? Look, 2.2. It's weird how you get different things coming back there. Let's try DH4. But yeah, in general, it's around 3 times faster. Yeah, 2.7. I've quite out of that, and it is noticeable. It's snappy. It's really snappy. Let's just do a normal speed test again. I can't imagine that's going to make much difference, but it might do a little bit. It has done 9582. That is different because we were 2.1 times faster than an A3000 run at 25, and now we're 2.07 times faster. That has made a big difference there. Well, yeah, it has made a big difference there. Certainly compared to the slower things like I don't know, a 1200 or a straight 68,000 and an A600, for example. That's incredible, absolutely incredible. And it's saying there in use now as well for the MMU. It wasn't showing that a minute ago until I did CPU space fast ROM cache. But that is working. That is incredible. And you can see what I mean here if I just go in and out of these folders. If I go into games, there's loads of folders there. That usually takes ages to go in, and it's saying here it's just snappy, super snappy in the response. So I'm very, very pleased. Let's give it the Frontier treatment. I won't show you all of it, but it's worth a test. Oh, it's rebooted. We have a problem. So one thing I have found is games do not run, they just reset on the 536 on this machine. Now I know the 536 is alright because I've used it on the 500 and on the 2000 boards, the other ones I've got, without an issue. It could be the 8 meg of MKL RAM that's on this board that's clashing. But I have interest, swap back to the 534, enabled MMU libs again, tested, and it's even faster, 9914. Now whether that's because it's got the FPU on here and it's taking that into account, the benchmark, that's possible actually. But it's coming up 2.14 times faster than an 030 and a 3000 run at 25. So that's interesting, but also I've got the fast IDE as well. I'm getting like 3 meg a second roughly at the moment, even with the 534. So I'm going to swap back to the 536 now. I'm going to remove that 8 meg RAM board and see if that makes any difference. So the MKL 8 meg RAM board removed. Let's see if that makes any difference. The other possibility here is the CPU. I could swap for the gold top one I had on my 534. Maybe there's something weird with the CPU. So I mean, straight away it's responding super quick there. All we've lost is that 8 meg. I'm hoping this is it, because I've got a couple of others I can try the Gotta Go Fast RAM board if this works. And it works, there we go, it is the MKL board. So we'll try the Gotta Go Fast RAM board, because it would be nice to have an extra 8 meg. And I've also got the 8 meg Zorro 2 board that you've not seen from Live 2 as well. I'm just very pleased that I've identified what the issue was. Very cool. You can see it's not strong in there. That's the bit that really hammers the system, where you've got all these little polygons and things in the background here from all the buildings and what have you. Right, let me try a different 8 meg RAM board. So we've got the Live 2 8 meg gotta go fast RAM board. Just noticed the door is missing on my floppy drive actually. Never noticed that all the time I've had it. Anyway, there we go. So we've got 70 odd meg there, so that's correct. It's picked it up. Let's go into games. And it was freezing every single time, no matter what I launched. I tried all sorts of switches and things in WHD load in the prefs there. Look, it's gone again. Yeah, gone again. So it doesn't like the RAM boards that sit in the CPU socket. Let's try it with the 8 meg Zorro 2 card from Live 2. So I've got the 8 meg Zorro 2 card from Live 2 in there. Let's see if that works. That's one thing that makes 2000s a bit fiddly in my opinion. It's crashed again. It's just freezing there. Yeah, so there's definitely some issue there with this motherboard. So I tested again with the 534, this time using Live 2's 8 meg RAM board again. I'm suspecting this will work. I'm suspecting all combinations of RAM will work with the 534. I just don't get it. I just don't get it. I don't understand what is the difference with the 536. The 536, if anything, is more compatible than the 534, so why are we now in this situation where I can't get this working with any additional Zorro 2 RAM? I don't know. It's got to be down to motherboard modifications, isn't it? That's working, look. Straight away. So, yeah, it's a little bit confusing. That is working. Let's come out. So we can rule out the CPU in a minute. I think the next thing I want to do is just swap these CPU slot adapters around, because you know what, they have an impedance, you know, on each trace related, and it could well be that one of these is nicely laid out and one of them is a little bit crazy. And I'll just press that in, make sure the card is not shorting anywhere. I need to put the card back in, don't I? Let's try that. Let's just move that out of the way. So I can't imagine that that is the problem, but we've got to rule it out, and then if that doesn't do anything, we'll swap the CPUs over. Maybe the MMU's not perfect on this one. Although I did try with MMU libs removed, now look, it's crashed again. So we've ruled out the CPU slot adapter. So it's not what I expected at all. The 534 is back in there now, and that's happy with no matter what RAM board I stick in there. So it seems with the motherboard in the current state, now bear in mind I did all the modifications to bring it up to date, apart from I removed one swap one resistor pack or something back to make the 534 compatible in previous videos. So maybe that then needs changing, but you know what, I haven't done that mod to the other two boards. Those are almost like stock. They've had some mods there to do with specific things, like they've got the pull-up resistors or whatever they are, or pull-downs are they, on the Zorro side of things, and I think they may have ALS chips instead of LS on the Zorro side of things, but that makes them more compatible. All the Zorro cards work with those. So just testing the 536 here with the 8 meg gotta go fast RAM board, and the two do nicely coexist. Now it's the same thing I pointed out on other videos, that you wouldn't want to use Zorro 2 RAM in a Zorro 3 system really, unless you're desperate, but the Zorro 3 RAM should get higher priority anyway, so it's only when you fill your RAM you're going to start running slow. At least that's my understanding, but look at the speed there, that drive, 4.7 meg almost. That is incredible, absolutely incredible. I'll just do DH1 so you can see. Look at that, 6.5 meg, good god, that is absolutely incredible. I am amazed how fast the throughput is there, 6.5 meg. Bear in mind I've got an MMU on this CPU, that's down to 4.5 meg. I'm not sure why, but DH1 and DH2 seem to be 6.5 meg. That is amazing throughput. And it's noticeable, you know, as I go in and out of folders. If it's going to sysinfo, it's instant, look. It's like instant, absolutely instant. It's incredible how fast that is. And of course, right up here, we've got 70 odd meg there, look. If I just go back into sysinfo, we can actually have a look at the memory there, actually. Let's just do that. Yeah, so you can see we've got 64 meg, 32-bit public kick, 8 meg fast public kick DMA, you know, 24-bit, and 1 meg chip on this particular board. It's only got the 8372 Agnes. So yeah, that is astonishing, the performance that the 536 brings. Certainly on this A2000 it would be a really good upgrade for it. We'll test it with the A2091 while I'm here as well. Hopefully it should be pretty fast at booting if it's going to work. Now I know Liv2 has been trying to get this combination of things working with his machine and struggled. So it can be a bit hit and miss. It depends on what mods have been done to your motherboard, you know, your A2000. So of course it's dictated by the revision of your A2000 motherboard and the mods you've done. You may need to do some mods, you may need to remove some mods. I've got no idea exactly what it is that makes things like this compatible more with one A2000 board versus another. It's going to be, you know, some of those pull-up resistors and pull-downs and things, the variations between them on boards, and it's about trace length and stuff. But you could try swapping out the 74LS data buffers there on Zorro for ALS ones. That can make a difference. Yeah, so that was a lot longer booting, but look, it's got everything there. I've got all the SCSI drives, and I've got the IDE drives as well. It's incredible how many icons there are there. If I go into DH2, these are all the games and things I've got on here. So, I mean, let's, for argument's sake, go into Frontier. Can find it. I'm not sure what that thing is with TimeGal. I've seen it so many times where it fails to load, but only in certain configurations. Yeah, so you can see there it's not working, is it? So there is an incompatibility there with the RAM board probably. I don't think it's the SCSI. So let me switch this off. I saw this when I was experimenting with the, I'm trying to think what it was now, the TF520, I think. I saw the exact same thing. So it doesn't like the Zorro 2 RAM, but I think it likes the SCSI, so we'll prove that now. Right, so we'll boot it again. So we're looking at the SCSI drive here. Let's try Frontier again. Yeah, it's loaded, look. So it would seem that it just doesn't like, you know, extra Zorro 2 RAM boards, but it's alright with the Zorro 2 A2091 here. So whilst it doesn't like the RAM on the A2091 either, let's just try it with the Liv2 8 meg gotta go fast 2000 board. So that'll provide 8 meg again. Let's just see if it does the same thing. I'm expecting it will do exactly the same thing because I saw that on the TF520 as well. And I'll echo some of the points that I made in the TF520 video that may follow this video, I think. So apologies when you see the same thing on that video. That these boards were not designed to be super compatible with every single add-on and expansion with, you know, across the different Amigas here. That isn't what they were trying to do. Now there is a good level of compatibility between certain things and certain combinations with certain board revisions and things, but a big part of the issue there is that Commodore were not consistent with the design and stuff. They change things and tweak things between all the different A2000 and A500 motherboards, and it can make certain things quite difficult. The 500s is much easier. They're just almost like plug and play because there's nothing there to clash with. All of them work, you know, with the expansions and things you can fit. It's just the Zorro 2 stuff that is pretty much hit and miss. You know, it depends on the clock speed of the accelerator you're adding on there. As you will see in the TF520 video, just changing the clock speed can make a difference. And I'm not talking about the CPU being overheated. I'm talking about your division. When you had a crystal of a certain speed, the division of that clock ultimately translates into other signals being at a slightly different offset in terms of the rising or falling edge. Yeah, you may not really understand what I'm talking about there, but altering the clock speed can make a huge difference. For example, on a 50 MHz setup like this, let's say this was a little bit glitchy with a particular card like we found, the 8 meg gotta go fast RAM board. If I increase the clock speed to 52 MHz or decrease it to 48, you may find it works perfectly. That's not something, you know, a deficiency in the design really. It's all about new technology integrated with, you know, interfacing with old motherboards and all of the variable timing issues that, you know, are associated with all the different revisions. It really is that simple. If someone out there can provide something like the 536 and make it absolutely compatible with every single Zorro card anywhere, I would be absolutely astonished, seriously. I don't think that will ever happen. There's always going to be something that clashes. So we'll try from the SCSI again here. We'll do exactly the same thing. We'll load Frontier. And I'm expecting it's going to reboot again. But you never know, might not do. Yeah, it's rebooted, look, frozen. So I did find that same thing on the 520 on this motherboard. So again, it could be this motherboard that's the issue. If I test it in a later rev board, it might be alright. And just to balance things up a little bit, testing on the Rev 6.2 A2000 board here. Same thing, TF536, A2091. This time I've enabled the 2 meg on the A2091. Let's just boot that way, see if any games work. If that does work, obviously we've proven that the 6.2 is more compatible. This board has got a couple of mods. It's got the resistor packs underneath the Zorro and data buffer chips there on the underside, and it's also got ALS chips which match the ALS chips on my 2091. And that's the other point actually. Obviously the A2091 did work on the other board. It was just the RAM side of things, but primarily the data bus is going to be going through those ALS chips. So you know what, I could be complicating matters here by having ALS chips on my 2091. This video is not by any means a complete guide to this sort of stuff. You know, your mileage is going to vary in terms of compatibility, and you're going to have to do some experimentation and some learning and examination of your motherboard to see what you may need to change. I actually think to a degree there's a bit of a dark art involved in these A2000s, seriously. So let's just try the same thing. Go into F. The IDE is super fast again. Frontier. Frontier. Yeah, it's frozen again, look. So yeah, it's not playing ball with the RAM expansions, is it? And incidentally, there you go, it's working. And incidentally, this issue with compatibility with other Zorro 2 RAM, I think that's perhaps something that came into existence with the last firmware update. Because you know what, I'm sure I tested earlier. I may have even shown earlier in this video, or I'll put a comment up top or something. I'm sure it was working at some point with additional Zorro 2 RAM. But anyway, I'm very pleased. It's a fantastic upgrade here. So when you don't have the Zorro 2 RAM there on the A2091 or something else, providing that RAM, your drive speed obviously is going to be affected. We'll test the IDE first. We know that's going to be super fast. I think that's the one. Is it DS? So find out. Yeah, there we go. Our IDE is 4.5 meg there. Look. Yeah. So DS0, which I'm just doing there, that's SCSI. So that's taking quite a while to come back. Now it's going to be in PIO mode because of that RAM. That's the point I was trying to make. If you ain't got Zorro 2 RAM there, it's going to be super slow PIO mode. Now there are some workarounds for that. There was one that was created for the 4000, I mentioned it before. It creates like a little window in chip RAM, and it pages the data in and out of that RAM, and you can get pretty good performance with it. But yeah, that's going to come back really slow. I'm sure it's like 50k or 100k per second perhaps. Yeah, that took ages to come back. Look at that, 116k. So yeah, it's not great at all, is it, when you're using SCSI? And that's one of the reasons why I've not stuck this SCSI card into my main 2000. It just gets bottlenecked when you're using the Zorro 3 card. What you really want is a 4000 with an A4091, I think it is. So I've used the 536 an awful lot in various boards here, but obviously you want to see it working in a 500, so we'll go with the 500 plus here. So if you're going to fit it into a 500, you really need a relocator, so let me go and get one. So using Stephen Leary's adapter here, just because it's better laid out than some of the other ones, actually. Incidentally, we fixed a pin on that the same way. I'll post a link to that video down below as well. Let's just pull that off there, if we can. The problem here now is a prior mod I've done to this board to fit a pin. That pin there is right in the way. Just bend it over a little bit. And on the A500 Plus here, you can see we've got 9576 dry stones, 2.06 times a 3060 030 25. So it's just a touch slower than it was on that 2000 board we're looking at, which is interesting because you tend to find that the 2000 is a little bit slower generally. From all the accelerators I've tested so far, there's always been a wee bit more performance on the 500, but the drive speed is about the same actually. The interesting thing here is DH1, DH2 on this 500 Plus don't show up the same speed. We've got 4.5 meg there on DH1, sorry, DH0. If I do DH1, let's check that. Yeah, 4.5 again. It's pretty consistent now. This could be a result of the latest firmware, because I have updated the firmware since the earlier part of this video. I think I'm on RC3 or something, the very final firmware as of December 2020, because there was a fix actually for long file transfers. Just occasionally that was causing some problems for people where it was freezing the system and rebooting. I always go with an MMU now, so I'd recommend doing that if you're going to fit a 68030. You can get the ones from eBay for about £9 that have got an MMU. They're marked, 40 megahertz, but actually they're probably 33s, but they run really rock solid at 50. But I would fit heatsink on there, as I have done on this one, and get heatsink on the CPLD as well. That's interesting. So I was just about to show you just a few normal games here. You can get these errors. See here, NMI, Auto Vector. What you've got to do, this is something I've not really touched upon really with any of these cards, but you do with all of them, all these upgrade cards. There might be some that you don't need to do on, but certainly the TerribleFire ones, it's worth doing this on. If you look at information on the thing there, can you see there you've got preload? Yeah, so you've got to do no Auto Vec, I think. Oh, hang on. Yeah, no Auto Vec. Hit return. So you can see it's added that there. Click save. And then I think if we load that now, that should work. So hopefully it won't bomb out this time. If I got that correct, I'm sure it did. I'm sure there's no Auto Vec. Yeah, that's working now. So there are other switches there. You can have like no cache, I think. And there's one for chip RAM caching. I think it's no chip cache. But yeah, no Auto Vec is something you'll probably need to add as a one of the switches there onto the tooltips thing. Yeah, so I've played loads and loads of games on this, and I've had no issues whatsoever, and lots of demos and stuff as well. It's a fantastic card, and this is the best card to go for in my mind if you've got 500 plus or a 2000. And as I say, some people have fitted one of these in a CD TV, I think. And of course we are playing games here that you can just play on the straight 500, but that's what it's all about, isn't it? It's about having a really good performance where you don't need it, effectively. Everything just runs better though, it boots so blooming fast, the IDE so fast. I'd get one of these just for the speed of the blooming IDE, if I'm honest. And of course that extra RAM. Not sure if this is one of those games that needs no Auto Vec or no cache actually. So trying that one again with no cache. See if that works. Yeah, that's working. So that did need no cache setting. I think some of the Ocean games are a bit funny like that actually. But as you can see, that's working fine. So that's working fine. I didn't need the no Auto Vec or no cache. This one just seems to work. And finally, because I don't think I've showed it, is AIBB. So I've just selected the full 030 there because it's got an MMU. We'll just do a sieve. We'll just go through some of the quick tests here. Sieve. You can see it's right up there, faster than the 4040. Twice as fast as the 3025. Let's do a mem test. That's right up there, look, he's got burst mode working on this. It's incredible how fast that is. He's super fast. We'll do a dry stone. Yeah, excellent. So of course the only thing it's going to lack on is the, compared to a 534, is the floating point stuff, FMath, flops, and the beach ball. It's obviously twice as fast as a 3000 at 25, but we don't have the FPU here, so it's not going to compare to the 534 on the benchmarks there, but it's super fast. So it was quite a long video this time, and obviously I did focus quite a bit on testing with the RAM boards there, because you've seen it all before in terms of, you know that this is going to be rock solid stable in terms of all games and things, and it is. You can play all games and stuff on this and they all run super well. It's super stable and reliable. The only thing was, it doesn't seem to like coexisting with other RAM boards. You did see it working with the A2091 though. Of course, you know, we've not got 02 RAM. It switches to PAO, and we only had 116k per second there. So yeah, would you really want to use SCSI alongside something like this? I don't think so. And of course the IDE was super fast. We had like 4.6 meg, didn't we? That's incredible. And the other two drives on there were like 6.3 meg. That's insane. Absolutely nuts. It's like PAO 4 or beyond, isn't it? The other one of these went to Brian. Thank you very much, Brian, for sorting out my wife's car repairs. So that was very, very much appreciated and totally unexpected. I've been meaning to finish this video for quite a while, but yeah, I say the same thing that I said to Matthew, actually, you know, 3DO Kid. And that's, you know, if you ever need anything repairing, by all means, just, you know, send me a message and I'll take a look at it for you. Parts will be covered by me. So yeah, this is the one I broke the pin on. The one I sent to Brian is the one that was pristine. You know, there's no damage to that one. You can see the wire there as well, look. But I long since sent that to Brian, actually. It was way back last year, sort of middle of last year, I think. So huge thanks again to Stephen Leary. It's amazing, it really is amazing. This was kind of like the pinnacle of the TerribleFire range for the 500 or the 2000. I'm hoping, you never know, we may, as some of this stuff gets open sourced, we may see something faster for the 2000, maybe even the 500. It'd be nice to get an 040 and 060 in there, but yeah, it's just crazy really to do that sort of thing, but yeah, I'd like to do it. And I'm not sure it's clear, but there are 3 chips for the IDE. I did fit that on both of them, and you do obviously remove the resistor packs for that one there as well. Anyway, I do hope you found that interesting. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll catch you in the next video.